Hi everyone, Heather here and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag, and yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be talking about different books that I've liked this year, that I haven't liked, where I'm at, and all of that. So I hope you enjoy this. I've been seeing a lot of other people do this type of video, and I wanted to join in, so I thought this would be fun. So starting off, my goal to read this year that I made on January 1st was to read 52 books for the entire year. As of right now, I have read exactly 52 books. So I have technically, halfway through the year, met my reading goal for the entire year. So I have actually bumped up my goal to 80, but if I keep going like I am, I'm probably going to hit over 100 books by the end of the year. So if I think I'm going to hit 80 by October, and then probably over 100 by the end of December. So we'll see what happens, but I've technically beat my reading goal for the year. This really surprised me because last year I only read 40 some books. And I remember I think I had a goal of 52 and I had to lower it because I wasn't doing very well. And this year I completely beat my goal. So that is awesome. I really shouldn't be freaking out. Except that I have so many books and there's so many good ones coming out. But we are going to talk about the first question of this tag is the best book that I've read so far this year in 2021. And that is going to have to be The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis. I picked this book up on a whim. It was on a Kindle Daily deal for $1.99. And it was also, I believe, the book that we were reading for the YA group that I'm in on Goodreads. So I was just oh, well, it's the book of the month and it's on sale, and you also get the prequel novella for free. So you know what? Sure, let's do it. And I read it. So good. Oh my goodness. I was so surprised. It was just a whim that I decided to read it, and it's actually been my favorite book so far of the year. So yeah, it's really great. So I talk about it more in my February my February wrap-up video. So if you want to hear more about it, I talk about it in that. But it's basically set in this land where there's this thick, what's it called? Thick clouds. And above the clouds, you have 5 different bird kingdoms, and all of the people up above are half bird, half human. And you have the doves, the ravens, the birds of prey, the birds of song, the birds of passion, and it focuses on the princess of the dove kingdom, and then the half-brother of the prince of the ravens, or king, or he's going to be king, but yes. And up above, magic is forbidden. It's seen as bad, and if you're found to have magic, you are either exiled or you're killed. And of course, our 2 main characters, the Dove Princess and the Raven, both have these powers that they've been hiding their whole life. This is also a retelling of Tristan and Isolde. And then underneath the clouds, we have humans, where magic is revered. It's those with power are seen as higher, the king of the people has very strong magic, and there's this prophecy that he believes that he is a part of, and he is trying to help bring this prophecy about. So it's really good. I really enjoy it. I'm actually currently reading the second book in the series, The Hunter and the Mage, right now, and it's also really good. So, and you learn more about the world in the second book. So yes, that has been the best book so far. Question number 2 is the best sequel that I've read in 2021 so far. So this would have to be Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I love Cassandra Clare. I love her Shadowhunter series. this was gonna make it on. This was gonna be the book no matter what else I read, because I just love Cassandra Clare so much. This is the second book of the Last Hours trilogy, and it's set in the Edwardian period. So it takes place after the Dark Artifices. No, sorry, it takes place after the Infernal Devices, but before the Immortal Instrument series. So it's a sequel and a prequel all at the same time. But this focuses on another group of shadow hunters and, you know, all the different things that they're dealing with. There's, you know, a ghost. You know, there's a ghost. There's, in the first one, there was like a mystery that they were trying to solve of who was going around killing all. No, actually, that happens in the second one. In this one, they're going around, all these shadow hunters are winding up being murdered during their, like, rotations for, like, protecting the city, and they're trying to figure out who's doing it. So that's what happens in this one. There's also there's a lot of romance, because, of course, the shadow hunter novels always have tons of romance, and the story, the book 2 ends with, like, let's just say, if you don't like cliffhangers, you should wait till the third book comes out, because it ends on a cliffhanger and I need the third book. So this is definitely the best sequel of 2021 so far, and it will probably be for the whole year, because I love Cassandra Clare and I love the Last Hour series. So I think it will reign supreme. The third question is a new release that I haven't read yet, but I really want to. So I am choosing Dial A for Annie's by Jessie Q. Sutanto. And this, if I remember correctly, this girl is like a wedding planner, and her ex-boyfriend, or her, I think it's her ex-boyfriend, ends up dead at this wedding, and she has to call in her aunts or her aunties to come and help her, like, kind of like find out who killed him, and, like, I guess, like, hide the body or something like that. And this was initially on, I think it was my May TBR, like, because that was the month that it came out. But then I ended up not really being in the mood for it, so I eventually went to get to that this year, maybe this fall, because it just sounds really funny. And I've also heard that it was surprisingly good, and I want a surprisingly good book. So yeah, I need to read that one. Question 4 is my most anticipated release of the second half of the year. So my most anticipated release that hasn't actually come out yet is Phantom Heart by Kelly Creog. And Kelly Creog wrote the Nevermore series that is about a blonde cheerleader and a goth boy who kind of strike up this romance, and there's like this supernatural, like, thing going on that's linked with Edgar Allan Poe and his death and what happened, like kind of like gave a reason for why Edgar Allan Poe died, or how he died, or whatever. And it was just so good. It's one of my favorite series, and it's been years since that series came out. So it's been a long time since Kelly Creog came out with a book. And Phantom Heart, which comes out August 17th. It's not too far away. It's only like a month and a half-ish away. It's a retelling of the Phantom of the Opera. So it's like another kind of really dark gothic style story. I'm here for it. I am so excited because I love the Phantom of the Opera. Love Edgar Allan Poe. I love Phantom of the Opera. So she is just writing books about things that I love. So this is my most anticipated release of the entire year. Like, as soon as I found out she was coming out with this book, I was hyped, so excited. I just can't wait, and I might have to take off the day it comes out to read it. I don't know. We'll see. I was doing that with the School for Good and Evil book. No, it wasn't the school. When Cassandra Clare would come out with a new book, I would take off to read her book. I generally didn't finish it all that day, but I usually would get like a halfway through or whatever, because she's got big books. But yeah, I might have to do that for Phantom Heart, because I am so excited. If you can't tell, I'm excited, people! And then, question number 5 is my biggest disappointment. So this is the book that disappointed me the most. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm disappointed that I've had so many disappointments this year. Like, I've had so many books that I've been so excited for, that I've heard great things about, that sounded amazing, and they just let me down. I'd say there's probably about 10 of them, to be honest, that I was just very, like, it's not that I didn't enjoy them, but they weren't necessarily what I, like, had imagined them to be, or the writing wasn't as good as I was hoping, or it just felt regurgitated from something else. And yeah, I've had a lot of disappointments, but I'm gonna list the top 4 disappointments. The first one was Lovely War by Julie Berry, which I guess kind of going into this, I should have figured that maybe I wouldn't have liked it that much, but Haley from Haley and Bookland was talking about how this was her favorite read, I believe, of 2020, and how it was so amazing, and she was like, it's the best book, and she was talking about how, well, it's about the Greek gods are telling this love story of 2 different couples during World War I. And I love romances. I like Greek mythology. I thought, wow, great, this is going to be great. But I forgot that it takes place during World War I. I'm not a fan of war novels. I don't like reading things that take place during real historical wars. Like, if it's a mystery war or a magical war that doesn't actually exist, where people didn't actually die because it's not real, it doesn't bother me. Unless one of my favorite characters dies. But if it takes place during something that actually happened, that was a horrible event, where, you know, atrocities occurred and are actually mentioned in the book, I don't really like to be traumatized when I read. And the trauma and, like, the war aspects of this, I think, trumped the romance. Like, I was traumatized. So, I mean, that could have been partly my fault because I don't watch war movies. I generally don't read war, like, historical, you know, fiction about war, like, real wars. So, I should have, I guess, it could have been, like, my bad. But yeah, oh, look! Charlie came to say hi. Say hi! Say hi! Hi, everyone! Alright. He's like, leave me alone. But, yeah, I think that was partly on me. And so I was just disappointed because I was really running a sweet romantic story and instead I got traumatized. So yeah, that was my first disappointment. The second disappointment was Music of the Night by Angela J. Ford. Though it was a disappointment, I still liked it because I kind of feel like it redeemed itself a little bit at the end. This is a, like, retelling or a reimagining of Phantom of the Opera. But, like, they throw in some supernatural aspects, and, like, it was more like Phantom of the Opera mixed with Beauty and the Beast, and it was really short. There wasn't much context. Like, I feel like the story itself wasn't very, like, well established, and not everything really made sense. But I feel like kind of the twists towards the end and, like, the little surprises that, like, unexpected surprises we got were good, and she's actually going to be continuing it. So maybe I'm hoping it's going to get better as we move on, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it was, because again, I love the Phantom of the Opera, I love a good retelling, I love, you know, reimaginings, and this one just, I think, fell a little short. But hopefully she'll redeem herself later on, since there's going to be more books in the series. Then, if you watch my videos, you probably will know how excited I was for The Map of Time by Felix J. Palma. And this, I was going on about how excited I was and how I wanted to read it back in college, and it sounded so amazing, and I went and bought all 3 books, and then I started reading it, and I'm like, what the hell is this? What have I gotten myself into? So with this, I was basically, I want to say I was disappointed because it's yet again not what I was expecting. Like, it tells you, like, it's about time travel, and, like, these famous people from history, like, show up in it, and it's exciting, and it's this, and it's, and I just felt like the author was misleading the reader. And he actually did a very good job of that, and he, like, points out that that's exactly what he's doing. So he actually did a good job of what he set out to do, but what I was wanting to read was not what I got. So, I mean, the writing was good, the author was very witty and, like, you know, like, had, like, funny inputs and stuff when he was doing things. He also did things purposely to, like, aggravate the reader and also to mislead you and different things like that, which was really clever and really well done, but it just wasn't what I wanted. I wanted an exciting time travel story, and that's not what I got. So that is why that was the disappointment. But I am still going to read the other 2 books in the series. I just don't know when I'm going to get to them because I need to go in knowing that the author is going to be messing with me. And I generally don't like reading books where the author messes with you. So yes. And then my last disappointment, which might be surprising, is Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. I was so excited. I think this was my number 2 release of the year. Like, I would say this was my number 1 release of the first half of the year. And if you watched my May wrap-up, I talked about why this was so disappointing. But basically, it's a regurgitated, it's like a Japanese-centered retelling of What a Girl Wants, which is a movie that starred Amanda Bynes. And literally reading this book, I felt like I was watching that movie. So, it wasn't new, it wasn't exciting. If I never watched What a Girl Wants, I probably would have loved this book a whole bunch, but because I'd watched that movie like 20, 30 times, like, it just wasn't special. So that's why that was a disappointment, because it just felt like I was reading a different version of a movie that I really, really like. So yeah. And then the biggest, number 6, the biggest surprise was actually, I'm going to say it again, The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis. And it was basically, you know, I picked it up on sale. It was a whim. I wasn't actually planning on reading it, but because, you know, it was on sale, and also, like, the book club I'm in on Goodreads was reading it, I went ahead and read it, and it was so good. So good. So far, there's 3 books in the series, and the 4th book is coming out in May of 2022, and I'm currently reading the 2nd book, and it's just a really good series. So I'm really happy that I decided to read it. Number 7 is favorite new author, whether it's their debut novel or that author's new to me. And I would have to go with Jennifer Yen, who wrote A Taste for Love. And this book was just so sweet. It was like a K-drama mixed with The Great British Bake Off and The Bachelorette. And it's about this girl whose mom wants her to date a good Asian boy. She doesn't want her to date American boys or, you know, white guys. She wants her to date Asian boys. So every year her mom has this baking competition, and this year her mom decides she's going to use it to get her daughter a boyfriend. And it's just so sweet, and I just loved it so much. It made me so happy, and yeah, I want to read more by her because I absolutely loved that book. It was so good, and the cover is also really pretty too. Number 8 is my newest fictional crush. I generally don't have book crushes. I have, like, crushes on actors or, like, you know, guys in movies and stuff like that, movies and TV shows, but I don't really have book crushes. But if I had to choose, I'm probably going to go with the Darkling from the Shadow and Bone series. Part of that is because the TV series just came out, and I love Ben Barnes. And when I heard that Ben Barnes was going to be the Darkling, I was like, yes, he's perfect. He's exactly how I would imagine the Darkling to look. And I am a huge Ben Barnes fan. So since he's playing this book character I read the whole Shadow and Bones trilogy this year, I'm going to have to say my book crush is the Darkling. Then number 9 is your newest favorite character. I, again, don't really have, like, favorite characters, really. I do here and there, like, growing up, Sarah Crew from A Little Princess, and will probably always be my most favorite character of all time because I really, like, idolized her, and I kind of wanted to be her, and, like, she's the main character of my all-time favorite book. And then another character that I talk about a lot is Grimalkin from the Iron Fey series. Like, he's just, like, this funny cat who's sarcastic, and he pops up and disappears at like the most random times, and he's just such a great character. But unfortunately, I haven't read, well, I mean, I did read the Iron Raven book this year that Grimalkin was in. So I love Grimalkin. He's amazing. But besides him, I'm gonna go with Eliza from Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I really connected with Eliza and like her struggles and the decisions she makes and like the anxiety that she has. Like I really connected with her and I understood her and kind of like why she does what she does. So yes, I'm gonna have to say she's my newest favorite character. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. None. I'm gonna be honest, it takes a lot to make me cry. I am not a crier, really. The book that got closest this year, I got really close to shedding a tear, but I didn't quite get there, was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Like, I got like that, you know, that pressure in your chest, like, before you're like it's building up, but I didn't actually shed any tears. But yeah, I probably can count on one hand, like, the books that have made me cry, and I can count on two hands the movies that have made me cry. I don't happy cry. Like, I've never cried because I'm so happy. And generally, the only, like, books or movies that are gonna make me cry are, like, if someone, like, if there's, like, a romance and someone dies, or, like, an animal dies. Like, those are generally the two things that make me cry. I don't really cry about anything else, so it's really difficult to make me cry. So yeah, none of the books have made me cry this year. And then number 11 is a book that made you happy. I had a lot of books that actually made me happy. All the ones that I mentioned that I, you know, was a surprise or that was a new, you know, new favorite or whatever. But I'm gonna list two. I'm gonna say The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. This just, I really like the main character. I really like the fake dating trope. I liked, this was also kind of like enemies to lovers. There's also like, was it like longtime crush? Like there was just a lot going on. And it was so good. I believe I also talk about this more in my February wrap-up video because I read in February because it was romance. Valentine's Day is in February. But yeah, it was such a sweet book and it was so heartwarming. And I love heartwarming romantic stories that make me happy. And that have a happy ending at the end. And then the second book is I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. This was another one. It's a romance. Like generally romances make me happy. I love me a good romance. But this girl, basically, she's got all these extracurricular activities. She's like really good in school. She's really good at sports. Like she's pretty much good at everything but getting a boyfriend. Like her friends come up with this term called a failure. So she's not a failure, she's a failure because she failed at flirting. And she's just really bad at interacting with guys that she likes. So her father, who's obsessed with Korean dramas, who watches them all the time, and she doesn't really understand them, one day she ends up watching one of these, and she's like, I got it. She's like, I am going to get a boyfriend by using the K-drama formula. So she goes, like, she becomes obsessed with K-dramas, and she writes out, like, this list of everything she needs to do that's part of this, like, K-drama formula to get herself a boyfriend. And of course she picks the new hot guy, and it's just so funny to see everything she does and like the mistakes she makes and like the things that she actually does right, and it was just so cute, and yet again it made me really happy. Alright, question number 12 is the most beautiful book that you've bought or received this year. I'm going to have to go with The Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. This book is just beautiful. On the back it says, quoth the raven, nevermore. And the main reason I chose this book is the end pages. Look at that. There's the night sky with the moon and a raven sitting on a tree branch, like, and it's got these beautiful, I guess these are called sprayed edges, like silver spray edges, and it's got this beautiful, like, blood red ribbon in it, and it's just, it's such a pretty book. And, I mean, this doesn't really match my aesthetic at all. Like, I'm very much, like, pink and cutesy and super girly, but I love Edgar Allan Poe, and I've actually been wanting this book, this edition of this book, for a really long time, and they kept on being out of it at Barnes & Noble, and then they finally got it back in. I was like, yes, it's mine! I want this book! So yes, Edgar Allan Poe is one of my favorite authors, and I'm really super happy to have this edition. I have like a paperback edition of all of his tales and poems, and I think I have a few other, like, collections or whatever, but this is the one that I'm the most proud of, and it's the prettiest book that in my opinion, that I've gotten this year. And then the last question, number 13, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, I have a lot of books I need to read, but I'm going to refer you to all the books that I want to read in the summer of 2021. I'll link that video up in the corner here. I name over 30 some books that I plan to read this summer, and I'm probably actually not going to be able to get to all those, so it's more so what I want to read this year, and it's a big long list. Like, there are just so many that I want to read. So yeah. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but there's just too many that I want to read that we'd be here for another, like, half an hour to tell you all the books that I want to read or need to read, that I feel that I need to read by the end of the year. So yeah, just go and check out that video and you'll be able to see all the books that I plan to read throughout the rest of this year that I feel they're top on my list, they need to get read this year. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what has been your favorite book so far this year, and also which one has been your biggest disappointment. Because even though I have so many books to read, I still want to know what books that you all enjoy reading, and I also want to know which ones you didn't like. That way, maybe if I'm hyped for it or whatever, maybe I'll rethink my decisions. And maybe it will help me, like, slim down my TBR lists. So yes, please comment down below what your favorite book has been so far in 2021 and your least favorite book in 2021. And if you like this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button down below. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!